All right, it's in between. The rules are there are no rules. Kitty's Uncle Todd, Uncle Richard, and Uncle Sean all love you, but today Mommy and Daddy get to hear adult words. So if those scare you...
We're going to use our grown-up words.
That's right. Then we'll see you next week. But so we kind of found ourselves at a loss today for what to do of an in-between. And we kind of had the question about the TV show, about the animated series, about other things. Richard's over there finding there was a parade float. There was an amusement park ride.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out where to go. So the current thought is that we are not, because we do the films, we are not going to do the TV show. We are not going to cover the animated series. However, what we've discussed is perhaps one in between dedicated to each, the TV show, maybe then one to the animated series, just where we talk about it. I know that I have the perspective of having at least watched... I watched the animated the TV show as a kid, and I loved it. I thought it was cool. You know, it shot on the same backlot kind of thing, and you got that same feel. I barely remember the cartoon, and I have watched it since we started doing this, and all I can say is, oi, it is...
Was it done by, like, Filmation or something like that?
Somebody like that, and it has that... You know, it'll almost be transitionary scenes where we see a set of characters running, and they're all standing still, but the background's going over them, and, you know, that kind of look. But then it would be very head trippy, and the colors in it are very bizarre. The choice, it's an interesting thing to watch.
I want to say it was Hanna-Barbera who probably, I think, pioneered that concept of reusing those sequences over and over again in animation as opposed to wholly animating the characters moving the entire time.
Well, and so that we don't piss off too many people, I'm going to look up the animated series.
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Okay, good.
I'm seeing how many episodes there were.
On this in between, you get to listen to us Google.
Listen to us. Right.
It's the research moment.
I know, exactly.
13
Welcome
episodes.
to our research.
And production company was
something I never heard of.
DePate Freelang Entertainment. Never heard of it.
That sounds familiar. I don't know what they did, though.
That's such a cheat way of doing it. It sounds familiar to me. I don't know what they did.
It sounds right.
But I'm smarter than Todd and Sean.
Good answer.
But in that one, I remember that the main male, you had an African-American male, you had a Caucasian male who looked a lot like a Johnny Quest type thing, you know, with the perfect little coiffed hair. And then they had a woman that they were, I believe, if I'm not incorrect, they were all the astronauts running around together. But
I thought what's her name came back for this one.
She may be in it.
Zira is in it.
What's her name?
Who?
I guess she's not in it. Nova.
No, not in the list. Yeah, she is.
No, she was.
Yeah,
she was
she's in there.
Yeah.
She joins Bill and Jeff on their adventures.
Yeah,
Bill and Jeff. So is she the one running around with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in it, we get Bill Hudson, Cornelius Zira, General Urko, Judy Franklin. What a lovely Lily White name. Jeff Allen, Dr. Zayas, Nova, Ronald Brent. We get Brent. I'm guessing, a U.S. astronaut who launched in the 21st century but arrived in a time of ape rule, numbers of years prior to the Hudson-Allen Franklin expedition, so there's some mention. We get Crador, who's the leader of the Underdwellers, and the Underdwellers, a group of underground persons based on the mutants from beneath the Planet of the Apes. I'm done at that point once they bring those people in, but I think that's going to be our approach. Watch one episode and kind of maybe each of us watch a different episode, so we at least have 3.
Well, how long is it available somewhere?
It's on DVD, yeah.
I actually think I've found it on YouTube as well.
Okay. It's interesting. They say the animated series does chronologically fit with the rest of the Apes universe. It borrows characters and elements from the movies, the TV series, and the original novel.
How does it put all those characters together, though? I guess if you're doing with Brent and Nova and Cornelius and Zira, then it takes place.
And it is supposed to be Brent because it says renamed here as Ron Brent. And Nova are from the movie series.
So, this kind of touches some on what we alluded to in some of the latter part of the week, which was how do you bring in a person whose sole job is to keep continuity of the universe you've created? It goes back to, I can only imagine how maddening this is, because you even think about that the Star Wars thing got rid of all the past universe they've created.
Universe.
Yeah, they got rid of it because it doesn't fit into where they want to take it. So, I mean, you even look now that this idea of how you do this is sort of evolving.
I've heard, like, The Mandalorian is bringing in some elements from the expanded universe.
Well, yeah, I heard that Mara Jade might be a part of it, which, I don't care. And especially if we got old curmudgeon Luke who wants to be a comedian more than anything else. Did he ever really have a Mara Jade?
That's true. I mean, he was by himself that time on the island.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know that works.
Well, they can be creating a Mara Jade, but it doesn't have to be the Mara Jade that was in the books. It's the Mara Jade that's in the movies.
True.
So Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay, that fits for me.
Before the current movies, yeah. It allows them to use a lot of the 4, 5, and 6 characters if they want to.
Well, and then we also get the news that we get a new Obi-Wan show.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, Ewan McGregor may have pulled the most recent version of the I'm a schmuck for leaving my wife and my daughter so I can be with a young hot actress. Did
he do that recently?
Yeah, the young lady that he was on, he did Fargo with. And she was also in Scott Pilgrim. She was one of the. She may have been the main girlfriend.
If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
But they worked together, and he left, and and it was an ugly situation. I think, dude, I love you, man.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
That's not what you do.
And she's a beautiful young lady, but at the same time, it was handled poorly. However, I cannot help but be pumped because I thought of all the garbage in the prequels. The one shining star was Ewan McGregor.
Was for sure.
He just was fantastic, and so you start thinking about it.
I thought you were going to say Jar Jar.
No.
Jetpack R2 wasn't cool enough.
No. Can we go through the other things we hated? Do we want to make this prequel talk?
No. This is Apes talk. This isn't Star Wars talk.
Well, it's in between talk, so it's anything.
Yeah. We can talk.
But I think what's cool
it's
about
our show.
That's right.
We can do whatever.
I think what's fun is that at least where Obi-Wan's being positioned, he's going to be apparently on Tatooine protecting Luke. Do we get to see a young Luke? Because I think they said it to where Luke would be about, I believe I read this, would be about 6 to 8 years old in the series. Ewan has aged enough where you can make him really start looking like Alec Guinness.
Isn't he like the age Alex Guinness was in Star Wars now?
Yeah, he actually is that, but he doesn't look that age.
He doesn't look beat down.
Okay, you know what? This goes back on that whole thing. This goes back on Aunt May. What has happened over the last 3 decades to where 40 and 50 was now super old and gray and dowdy,
right? And
now it's kind of somewhat youthful because Ewan McGregor and Alec McGinnis looks like an older man,
yeah.
And Ewan McGregor, through the magic of Hollywood, has aged but doesn't necessarily look like Alec McGinnis did.
Right,
they're at the same age. It's weird.
So Aunt May went from Rosemary Harris, who was born in 1927, to Marissa Tomei, who was born in 64. So they kind of really de-aged her.
But Marissa Tomei looks like a believable aunt for him. It's just the audience was expecting a gray-haired old lady.
Can I have her be my aunt?
Yes, she can be your aunt. I asked her. She's cool with it.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Marissa, you're so sweet.
She'll be your crazy aunt.
Well, you don't have to worry about Tony Stark anymore, macking on her.
No, you apparently don't have to worry about that whole universe if they're going to take
yank
Spider-Man out of it.
That is such a bad idea.
So stupid. So absolutely short-sighted.
Do you think that it has something to do with Disney wanting too much money, too much control or take of it? And that's
I take it the other way. I think that Sony wants hey, it's our property. We deserve all this.
We should get all the money.
Everybody's like, when is Disney just going to buy Sony?
Yeah,
no doubt.
Finish it up, get our property back.
I can't help but think before the next Spider-Man film goes into production, this will be fixed.
I hope so.
I mean, because you have a great property that suddenly made you a ton of money. You don't shit on it and suddenly make no money with it because you're worth nothing if you can't execute upon what's been laid out
but
before you.
But they had moderate success with Venom, so they probably feel like they can continue forward.
Did you see Venom?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's not a good movie.
I did never see it either. I can't bring myself to watch it.
I mean, literally, the character is eating people's heads. And at one point, the movie ends with somebody, that really bad thing of where you're going to look like a turd blowing in the wind or whatever, which is a term nobody's ever heard of before. At the end of that shot, he eats a guy's head and then says goodbye to her lady and walks out.
That's the end of the movie?
Yeah.
Wow. So somebody described Venom as the best modern 1980s film ever.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is that what you would deem it as?
So that brings to mind that when you think about movies like that, and Venom was pretty beat up by critics and whatnot. My daughter recently came to me and wants to see this new movie, Goldfinch, because Finn, what's his name,
the baby driver
is in it, and she also Ansel, what's his name?
I can't say his name either.
She likes him, and it's based on a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. Have you read the reviews of it?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God! They say it may be one of the worst adaptations of a book ever because it's this apparently beautifully sprawling, character-driven thing. And what one critic said is, in this day and age, why, when you have this grand of a novel that has been this decorated, why don't you take it to HBO and say, "Give me 10 episodes and let me tell this story"? It'll just be a single season. I bring this up because, she wants to see it because of Finn Wolfhard or whatever his name is. And I get it. She's a kid. She loves him. I can't bring myself to go to a movie theater whenever when I look at Rotten Tomatoes and it's sitting at 23% approval. I can't bring myself to go out, pay the money, endure the people I can't stand sitting next to.
It's dissuaded us from watching movies on Netflix and
Has it?
and iTunes. Where we look at what's the Rotten Tomatoes? Ooh, that's really bad.
Yeah, and I know that if you really get into it, a lot of people say the algorithm that Rotten Tomatoes has is not entirely fair because sometimes the negativity that's in a review hides the fact that what they're saying is there's actually some really compelling stuff to see. So it's not fair. But when you look at 23% approval, that sounds like a movie that stinks.
Well, that's just it. When I look at the approval rating, I'll give something a fair shake, even if it's not like a high approval rating.
Right.
If people didn't like it, that's fine because I might find value in it. But when it's really polar, the end of the spectrum of dislike, I'm like, oh, maybe that's not going to do.
But and I can't remember who did it or who said it, and I'm looking it up. I want to think that it was even Bruce Campbell who said it. But you get the director of. You get the screenwriter. Let's see here. Who is it? You get the director of the cinematographer.
Take two.
I'm trying to find. It's a cinematographer of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you get the writer of Moonstruck, and you put them all together, and what do you get? Congo.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, just because you have good people or good material doesn't mean you're going to make a good movie.
And I fight with my dad all the time. I've said to him the thing that Sean and I say at nauseum, that Scorsese always says you have to watch shit to know what's good. So watch everything. And I agree with that. I just don't have time to watch the shit as much anymore. But my dad believes, he'll go, why did they take that great novel and set out to make a bad movie? I'm like, nobody
didn't. Set out to make a bad movie.
Nobody, outside of Ed Wood, very few people want to go, you hope that you're going to make the greatest thing of all time and you believe you found the truth of it. But I think the compelling thing for me and why I want to know is that I feel kind of guilty being a film fanatic that I run away from things
that are bad
because time is so scarce that I want to see as much as I can, and I don't want to sit down and watch the bad anymore.
I only want to do the things that I enjoy.
Yeah, people who watch bad movies, ironically, just doesn't make sense to me. Why do you want to waste your time? At least if you're going to watch a bad movie, don't do it ironically. Do it because you're trying to learn something.
I will.
True.
I almost find myself, look, if you're Scorsese and you're one of the great masters of your generation, then you have time to sit around and watch them. If
it's your craft.
Yes. And if I sit around and read an interview with somebody like Scorsese that says, I watched this film, and what I really found myself wishing was that they had done this, it would have illuminated this. I'll go watch that because now I've had somebody like that tell it to me, and I'm like, oh, I see what he's talking about. I want to learn. I just can't devote the time to crap anymore.
Garbage, yeah.
I can't. Wow, that made me the killer.
Note, I guess we won't look at crap anymore.
Well, I was about to say, and if that's the end note of it, that's the shortest in between we've ever done. Because guys, we're only at 13 minutes.
Well,
I feel the need for a marathon. Who wants to talk about something else?
What do we got going on?
Do we want to play Galaga while we do this?
What do we got going on? Did you guys see that Far Side is coming back? Is that what's happening?
I saw something about that.
No,
Gary Larson's Far Side.
Really?
You go to his website and it's got an iceberg, and it's got a person in a snow coat with a blowtorch unthawing his characters. And then it says something about that because of the digital era, new content coming or something like that. Uncommon, Unreal, and soon to be Unfrozen.
New online era of the Far Side is coming.
I'm all for it.
Well, with so many different outlets for things, is there any reason not to bring back something that's unique like that?
Do we know why he quit? Do we know why he retired?
I don't know. Let's see.
Why? I honestly thought he died just because he'd stopped. I mean, Bill Watterson retired.
In 1994, he thought the series was getting repetitive and did not want to enter what he called the graveyard of mediocre cartoons. So he retired the strip when he was 44.
When he's 44?
Damn.
Wow. But I could also imagine publishing probably had something to do with that as well, because there was a lot of cartoonist cutthroat stuff going on with new